First week of the playoffs is in the books. Hopefully you guys are still alive. If so, I got a lot of great guys for you to look at, potentially pick up this week. But before we get into it, don't forget about our bowl pick'em. This game start this Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got some prizes in there for you guys, and it'll give you a reason to watch some of those bowl games you wouldn't normally care about. But let's get into the waiver wire. I got 3 must-adds for you. First guy, Ryan Terrain. I think it is very safe to say he's the guy to own out there, and I think it's also safe to say he is healthy. Only owned in about 45% of leagues with matchups against Dallas week 15 and Jacksonville week 16. He could end the season pretty strong for you and could be a nice pickup for you. Next, Kenny Britt, only owned in 60% of leagues. There's been reports saying he's going to start, and they got Houston next week. And what does Brent always say? Anyone that throws the ball or catches the ball against Houston is a good play. Just look at what Mason's doing so far in Monday Night Football. Next, I got New England's defense. Now, I don't normally put defenses as must-adds, but I think you should pick them up just to see what happens with Rodgers. If Rodgers doesn't play, they are a must-add and a must-start. Only owned in 65% of leagues. They have looked great over the last 2 weeks. And Green Bay has no running game, and if their passing game isn't going to be anything with Rodgers. Patriots could be a huge defense if Rodgers doesn't end up playing. All right, let's talk about some guys that add in deeper leagues. And at this point in the season, it's all about matchups. These are all pretty much short-term guys that could have value for you this week and week 16. First guy, Tim Hightower, monster game, only on 45% of leagues. Got Carolina week 15, could be a nice play for you. Next, Rashard Jennings, only on 5% of leagues. Here's why he's on this list. He's been great as MJD's backup. He had a big run this last week, and you don't want him. I'm just putting him here as a handcuff. You don't want to miss out on these matchups. He's got Indianapolis, then Washington to end the season. So if something were to happen to MJD, make sure you have Jennings so that you have the Jacksonville running back against those defenses. Next, Ricky Williams, only on 60% of leagues, has Buffalo week 15. Could be a nice matchup for you, only if you're in a pinch, but I do think Ricky Williams could end up having a decent game. Moving on, Michael Bush, only on 35% of leagues. We all saw what McFadden did. Huge game, but don't forget, the game before that, Bush was very involved, and they have matchups against Denver and Indy to end the fantasy season. Those are 2 really bad defenses against the run. If Oakland can get the lead, look for the Bush and McFadden to have value for the last 2 weeks. All right, let's get into a few receivers. First guy, Arelius Ben, only on 5% of leagues, coming off of a career game. He's got matchups against Detroit and Seattle in the last 2 weeks, so not too bad if you're in an absolute pinch. I think he's a decent pickup. Could have another good game out of those 2, but only if you're in a pinch for wide receiver. Next, another Tennessee receiver, Nate Washington, only on 45% of leagues. Again, they're going up against Houston. And when I said Kenny Britt's going to start, that's over Randy Moss. Nate Washington and Kenny Britt are projected to be the starters this week going up against Houston. Both those guys could have value. All right, I got a quarterback for you here, and this is only in deeper leagues, maybe 2 quarterback leagues, or if you have Kyle Orton. Now, I don't normally suggest handcuffing quarterbacks, but this is, again, Houston. Denver plays Houston the final week of the fantasy playoffs, week 16, so you don't want to miss out on that matchup. So in 2 quarterback leagues, you might want to think about going ahead and pick up Tebow, maybe in keeper leagues as well, depending on how many keepers you keep. Another quarterback for you, John Kitna, only on 30% of leagues, ends the season against Washington and Arizona. 2 very nice matchups for Kitna. Could be a nice pickup and play if you're an Aaron Rodgers owner, and if Rodgers doesn't end up playing. We like John Kitna for the last 2 weeks. Doesn't look like Romo's going to come back. Another defense for you in Dallas, going up against Washington. Dallas is at home. Now, Dallas D has definitely been able to put up some points here and there. Washington's offense is hit or miss. Could be a nice pickup and play for you. And I did want to take a second and talk about Arizona's defense going up against Carolina this week. I've seen a lot of people pick up Arizona. Be careful about this. I mean, Carolina, yes, they're terrible. They don't have that great of an offense, but they do still have a pretty good running back tandem, and Arizona cannot stop the run. If they can get Stewart and Goodson going, I'm not so sure Arizona is going to be a good pickup and play for you. So don't necessarily pick up Arizona's defense unless that's absolutely it on the waiver wire. So that's it for this week's show. Brett and I will be back later this week. Hopefully you guys are still in it. We'll see you in those forums.